He's coming home, he's coming home. Tell Marvel he's coming home. Zip! Oh my god, ladies and gentlemen, the wall crawler is coming home. Oh shit.
I don't want to go. I don't want to go, sir. Please. Please, I don't want to go. I don't want to go. Sorry.
Comics Plus, what is up? My name is Akasan.
What's up, Super Cruise? DC-san.
Hey, it's Terry.
And very sad and yet exciting news at the same time. We have... Why are you laughing?
I didn't say anything. I'm waiting to hear the
I
exciting
saw your
news.
face to the side. Well, first and foremost, as a lot of you have already known by clicking on this video, the MCU Spider-Man, Tom Holland's Spider-Man, well, at least the iteration that we have seen so far, is no more. Deals have broken down between... Potentially no more. Deals have broken down between Disney and Sony, and at this moment in time, it seems that Sony, Spider-Man, which is actually the film rights are owned by Spider-Man, are coming back.
Owned by Sony.
Thank you. Owned by Sony, are coming back home. To Sony, that is, not to Marvel. So, Spider-Man 3, Homeless, coming soon. But before I get into that, let's back it up a little bit because I've seen a lot of confusion on how all of this has kind of happened. Let's go back. See, look, the MCU is falling apart already. It's already falling apart. DC will... Of all people, DC Son is the one who is propping the MCU on his shoulders. On his shoulders. Look at that.
Holding it down.
And okay, so it's exciting times. It's confusing times, but at the same time, it's exciting times because I don't think we've ever had something like this in a cinematic sort of situation where deals have been made and people have been so invested in just one character. Like Hulk. A lot of people don't realize Hulk, Blade. Well, Hulk for sure was owned by Universal, the film rights. And people just kind of like glance over the fact that Marvel made a deal and got Hulk on a rental type of deal. Yeah. And then finally Universal was like, yeah, we just don't care anymore. And then I think Blade was Universal or New Line Cinema. Okay. New Line Cinema, and then that just
before it got acquired.
Right.
By Warner.
Very interesting. Okay. And so Blade, eventually the rights came back to Marvel, and now that's that. Namor was Universal.
Which is just fine.
Right. So what happened was in the 1990s, Marvel as a company, before they were Marvel Studios, were going out of business, going bankrupt. They filed for bankruptcy. It was a really tough time. Comics were doing well, but not well enough to keep the company afloat. Daredevil was making... That's a side story. But comics were doing very well. The circulation was great. But again, this is before the internet really hit, before digital media really hit. Anyways, Marvel was in a really bad position, so they sold off all of their film rights to several different companies. The most famous one, to keep them afloat.
For cheap, too. The numbers is ridiculous.
Well... At the time,
especially looking at it now,
okay,
right?
The time.
But at the time,
at the time, because the thing you guys, a lot of us
inflation.
A lot of us didn't really think of was at that time, superhero movies were shit. Like Batman and Robin was the biggest thing that we all remembered, and it was the end of the superhero age.
It's not that bad.
Really?
It's an enjoyable
Fat nipples,
popcorn
fat
flick.
butt.
Yo,
I
Schumacher.
feed you out, spot on.
It's fun, man.
Marvel sold their rights to the X-Men line, the X-Men universe, as we all know, to Fox, which now has come back through the buyout from Disney. Hulk went to Universal, Namor went to Universal, Blade went to New Line, and the most infamous one was Sony looked at what was selling and they bought Spider-Man. That's all they wanted. They just wanted the Spider-Man characters. They wanted the Spider-Man universe. And at that time, again, nobody ever... it was a good purchase. They bought them for $10 million. Helped keep Marvel afloat. It was a good business. Everybody started talking about the James Cameron directed Spider-Man movie with Leonardo DiCaprio being Peter Parker, and it went into like this crazy development hell, and finally we got the Sam Raimi, Tobey Maguire trilogy, and the rest, as they say, is history.
Right.
Then, circa 2012, I want to say.
This is when the Amazing Spider-Man came out.
Thank you.
Yes.
The Amazing Spider-Man was, now this is the thing, was Marvel was offering the Avengers to any studio that would take it. But the reason I brought up the comic circulation in the beginning was the fact that the Avengers at that time in the 90s sucked. The comics were not good.
No,
it was
because that's why John Favreau ended up taking Iron Man, because just like with Marvel or with Spider-Man, it was a cheap property.
Exactly.
And it's like, well, no one's going to say, I'll take it.
Yeah.
I'll make something of it.
Yeah.
And at that time, the risk was low.
Yeah. It was a huge... I mean, Iron Man was... His biggest story at that time was Demon in a Bottle. And he had this reputation of just being a drunk Avenger.
Yeah.
Like that. Captain America washed up. Thor was corny.
Yeah.
You got to realize that the Avengers were like nothing in the 90s. And no studio wanted them because comics weren't selling. What was selling was X-Men and Spider-Man.
Yeah.
Those were the biggest deals right then and there.
Even beyond that, Iron Man wasn't popular, at least...
No.
From what I know from my circle in New York, because he was the guy that shitted on Peter Parker's life. Got him to oust himself in the community when he took off his mask and all that during Civil War.
Yeah.
And even before that,
You know,
the costume designs were not great.
Yeah.
They look bad. And, if there's Iron Man fans out there, it's not to diss the character, because he's fantastic now. But back when I was growing up, my cousin, hey man, you want to read this? And I was like, yeah. I don't like the designs of some of the characters.
Yeah.
If it had Spider-Man in it, I'd read it. But it's like trying to read a Fantastic Four comic book. If you weren't into it, it's hard to dive into it and get into the storylines.
Yeah.
All right, well, let's jump here to Amazing Spider. So, time has passed already. 3 Spider-Man movies have already come out by Sony. But, as we all know, the infamous story, Kevin Feige, who actually used to work at Sony as an executive producer, moved over to Marvel, started Marvel Studios, had a bunch of no-name titles nobody wanted, and started, as you already mentioned, Iron Man, and we had the Avengers. The rest is history. Then people start seeing things in a really different light when the idea that superhero movies could actually come together.
And not
Justice
just,
League,
and
sorry.
not just interacting, but for the fact that you could take superhero movies or these IPs that people don't bat their eyes at anymore and make something really interesting out of them, give them compelling stories.
Yeah.
And I think that's one of the biggest assets that he had by leaving.
Yes.
Because at that time, he wasn't getting the chance to
Yeah.
show his creative side to the extent that he wanted to. So leaving and starting the studio obviously was a good idea. But at that time, people were like, oh, yeah, just go ahead. Just do whatever you want to. Now, they're like, hey, can we get you over here and work on this for us?
Amy Pascal, legit from Sony, threw a sandwich at Kevin Feige and said, "Get the fuck out of my office." True
Back
story.
in the day?
Yeah.
Was it peanut butter?
Like this shows how it was like nobody was giving Kevin Feige any sort of respect at that time. People like the idea of a cinematic universe was not working. Everybody thought Avengers was gonna fail. Buffy the Vampire Slayer director, first time big movie. It's not gonna work, but it
the
worked.
Same guy.
Yeah.
Even by 2012, I still was not all in.
Yeah.
I saw Iron Man 1, didn't see 2 in theaters. I was busy. I saw the other movies, Captain America, Thor. I liked them. I really like Captain America: First Avenger. And when 2012 came, I was like, oh, I guess I got some time. I can go watch that Avengers movie. and fuck,
Yeah.
that blew. I don't know. That was also when Dark Knight Rises came out. Like that movie was just the Avengers was it. That was game changing right there.
So here's the thing. Amazing Spider-Man is coming out. The franchise is not doing very well because people's minds are also changing. I think this is very important going forward for the future as well. People's minds were changing about what superhero movies could be. And people were just not really feeling the Amazing Spider-Man as much as they could because of the fact that they also knew that the Avengers is amazing right now. The MCU is doing well. Wait a second, Spider-Man is a Marvel property.
Yep.
Spider-Man should be an Avenger. That's all people really wanted. So I think Amazing Spider-Man also kind of had a weird
place in the cinematic
the time
universe
zone, like
when it comes to the studios,
exactly,
because it's like, well, for people that don't know, it's like, okay, him being a Marvel character, why isn't he with the
right.
other Marvel characters?
Right.
Yeah.
You see him in the comic books, but
why
you don't.
isn't Sony and Disney collaborating to make this happen?
Right.
So there's a lot of animosity between the fans of, hey, why aren't we getting
Yeah.
what we're reading?
And as some of us know, some of those business deals were actually being taken place behind the scenes. We most of us didn't know that, but actually thanks to North Korea and hacking Sony, everybody knew at that point that deals were being made behind the scenes. Kevin Feige was warning them about Amazing Spider-Man 2 and certain things that they should or shouldn't be doing. The sandwich throwing incident, whatever happens. Amy Pascal and Sony come somewhat groveling back to finally make a deal because at this point, Spider-Man was untouchable. It sucks for Andrew Garfield, but Spider-Man, nobody wanted anything to do with Sony Spider-Man only. It's so weird, though, how the tables have turned now, because I do find myself on the defending side of Sony. But knowing that history is a lot as to why a lot of people don't trust Sony handling Spider-Man by themselves. However, that deal that originally was reached 4.5 years ago was Disney, owned by Marvel, is taking 5% of the first ticket sales, and but they get all the merchandising rights. Movie merchandising rights.
That's where the money is. Right there.
Spider-Man is allowed to cameo in 3 Marvel films, and then Marvel will write, but Sony will produce the solo Spider-Man films that are included in the MCU. However, as we have just found out nowadays, that Tom Holland is still signed on, contractually obligated to two more Spider-Man solo films. However, that is, as far as we know now, that is not to include the MCU and not to include the involvement of Kevin Feige. So this goes kind of both ways, where deals have kind of fallen out. As far as we have heard, Disney, now after making Spider-Man Far From Home, the biggest Sony movie ever to be made,
even passing James Bond.
Yeah. Even what, $1.3 billion.
Yeah.
But still, that's 95% Sony is intaking first ticket sales. Disney, from what we have heard, allegedly Disney was asking now for 50-50 co-producing and 50-50 first ticket sales coming back. And I can see where Sony were like, what? On top of that, I'm sure Disney is still going to keep their merchandising rights on that as well. And so Sony is in this weird position now because, 50% of $1 billion is only $500 million, which would, that's not a lot of money.
When you consider how much is being used for actual production.
Exactly. Mm-hmm. People say, well, they're going to be sharing 50% production, but that's only $100 million tops. What, Black Panther, Captain Marvel, I don't even know how much Far From Home was, but I'm sure it wasn't a lot.
If you look at the average movie being anywhere between, on the low end,
150
$60 to $80 million for a low budget budget film, up to at least $200 million, $250 million. You're looking at a $250 million cap. So anything over that obviously is bonus, but what if it doesn't do that?
Exactly.
And now, because of this situation that's going on, no matter what side you agree with or disagree with, you have fans that feel like they're on the borderline.
Yeah.
It's like, well, should I just continue following the character because I like the story and the character, or should I stick with this because they've been doing so many connected storylines and things from the get-go? And it's sad because, for me, I look at it as both companies lose out.
Yeah.
Both companies lose out, not just fan base, but also money, because now it's like, you know how you talked about Warner and the DCEU, and it's like not trusting how the stories and things go. Now it feels like it's in reverse, and it's on the other side of the pond, and it's like, now what?
Okay, well, let's talk about the decision here. The big, as far as the news as we know right now, because there are rumors that this is all a negotiation tactic by Disney to strong arm Sony into buckling again, like we've had before. Because now, for the most part, I've seen the public is on Disney's side. But
there's a good portion of the
public. I would say the majority. You know, and on top of that, in some weird way, you got celebrities even jumping in on this. Jeremy Renner is talking about bring Spider-Man back, but I'm like,
but the way he says it is smart, because the way he posted it, it's not that he's choosing a side. He's just saying, hey, look, work it out, and he even posted it and said it, work it out, so we don't miss out on something good later on down the line.
I mean, I get it. So, okay, the decision. Your initial responses, and do you feel anybody is at fault? Particularly, because I know DC Sun is always going to be pretty, not bipolar, bipartisan on this one as an actor and being in the business. But particularly someone who didn't actually like the MCU Spider-Man. What is your reaction trigger, Terry?
Right.
Yeah,
that's right.
Yeah.
I forgot about that.
Yeah.
Wow.
This nigga was like, yeah, dude. He was celebrating 2 days ago. Nah, go ahead.
This is so scary.
Nah, so I was just sitting there just relishing, like, yo, the internet is blowing up. People's going hard for, I don't want to say no reason, because I do, like, it's a tactic. Like nothing is ever a closed door. They can, if they want to, they can go into a room, lock each other up, you know, in the same room, and come out with a deal, right? We could do it between nations. We could do it between companies. However, I don't care. Like Spider-Man leaving. I did not like Far From Home. I thought it was kind of doo doo, and so. If he goes off and never comes back, I'm actually kind of like you know, like there goes your Spider-Man, you know. That's how I feel. I mean,
you preferred Amazing Spider-Man?
I don't even prefer it. So, like, for one, I understand on the internet there's like these Raimi Bros concepts.
Raimi Bros.
My nostalgia, I admit, I really do like the Sam Raimi films. My dad loves the Amazing Spider-Man series. He thinks those are great. I'm like, okay, you're crazy. And some people like the new Spider-Man stuff.
Which you're not a fan of.
I'm not a fan of. And narratively, I liked Homecoming. I liked how it really made you feel like this Spider-Man is a kid in a grown folks world, you know, but he still powers through. And then they kind of just threw that away with Far From Home, and then like really like pushed him to be like the next guy who you won't be the next Iron Man, which isn't even a damn movie.
Bonus features on the Blu-ray. All right, so the decision itself, do you feel like are you good with that, or do you feel like somebody's at fault? Disney?
I'm not entirely good with that, because honestly, I do like the MCU as a whole, holistically, and if they were to really take away the Spider-Man character, we would lose some serious continuity. What happened to Peter? Will they do it like they did Jane Foster? Like, we broke up? Like, oh, but then she's back.
She's back.
Because she's
But
she's
it's
ready
funny you mentioned that. Okay, I'm going to talk about that.
Because she's ready to play ball again, you
yeah.
know? So that could happen. Yeah, we'll lose Spider-Man for a little bit, then he'll come back. Surprise! You know, I'm back.
Where were you? I was in the neighborhood.
You know, I don't know. So that's how I feel. You know, and we can always, like, I don't know, can we use a different Spider-Man? Does Sony have Ben Reilly or Kane? I don't know.
Well,
I get it.
As far as I know, Sony owns
all the Spider-Verse.
of the Spider-Verse.
Okay,
Yeah, because
done.
it's what 900 characters.
So Spider-Man goes to college. We'll see him when they finally figure this out. That's how I feel.
Okay.
Right.
DC son. On the decision itself.
On the decision itself.
Or the non-decision, essentially. The fallout.
The decision to not come to a conclusion is how I'm going to put it.
Yeah.
Because, like him, you really want to get it done, you can get it done. I do think that there's a lot of measuring on both sides. I do feel sorry for Sony because they haven't had a good break.
I agree.
And you know, on the merchandise side, the same thing with Fox. It's like they had X-Men, but notice there weren't any movie toys.
No.
Because they didn't have the license for it.
And then for that, there were for a long time no X-Men comics because of that, apparently.
Well, there's X-Men comics, just not related to the movies.
Yeah.
So
new stuff.
It's kind of sad. So on the same side, you have Sony, and it's like, okay, what big properties do they have to make universes out of that they're actually using? They have a lot, but what do we see? Bond, Spider-Man.
They don't have Bond anymore.
Well,
they lost that, so.
Okay, well, we'll say
so
had.
They're fighting for what they have left.
Yeah.
Which is understandable, and I think they need to keep it because the company needs to keep thriving.
And like you were just saying, like, I think that's something a lot of people got to realize is like, yo, if you bought something for $10 million years ago, there was a reason, and that was a lot of money years ago. There's a big reason you invested in that shit. And maybe it wasn't working out, and Marvel or Disney came in and they propped it up, made it better. But taking 50% out of that shit, again, 50% of $1 billion is only $500 million. That's not a lot of money.
No, because you're barely clearing what you put in to produce it.
Yeah.
I think for the two companies to go in and say, hey, look, let's produce this 50-50. If you want to share ticket sales 50-50, fine. If you want to do merchandising 50-50, fine.
There you go.
Then you make it a clean cut all the way down the line. Or if there's an issue where one company can't have 50%, then okay, someone has 51, someone has 49. Give Sony 51. Disney, they can have 49%. Why? Because they have so many other properties and so many other characters in that universe outside of any standalone things they're doing. And I think it'll help Sony recover and build from there.
I still think 49 is too much. For me, I'd say, like, again, they started at 5%. To jump 45% is just crazy to me.
It doesn't have to be 50-50 all the way down the line. But if it is, then no one can say, well, we did this.
I get it.
And you benefited from it because we're involved. No, it's a shared. Yeah. It's a shared.
Right.
Property. And
I get this point, but I here's the other thing. Again, going back to the 90s, Sony picks Spider-Man and Spider-Man only for a particular reason, and that's because undisputably, Spider-Man is the most recognized Marvel figure. Spider-Man is the most popular Marvel figure. That's why Sony bought Spider-Man and only Spider-Man, because they didn't think about, they just wanted the Spider-Man world. They didn't give a shit about X-Men and all that. They were like, we just want a Spider-Man world. I feel Marvel, and I should say Marvel Studios, Disney needs Spider-Man more in the MCU than Sony needs the MCU in Spider-Man.
You're right.
Because Spider-Man having standalone movies, I don't have any problem with
right.
Them being connected to MCU, I don't have a problem with that either. One of his complaints last time was like, missed the story of just Spider-Man being in his own world. I don't mind that, but my issue with that is when you deal with the MCU and then you have him somewhat staying in New York, it feels
empty.
It feels empty to me. Now, if it's okay, you're not connected, and we focus on your world and it takes place in New York, I'm fine. But from going into space and going to this place and that place, and then you're just taking the movie, you're in what, a 10-block radius? If the story doesn't hold, it feels empty to me.
Okay.
It may not be like that for everybody, but it just feels like there was so much that happened in it to kind of downgrade that much, it's like, oh,
Yes.
we're
stand
missing
now-
budget
Yeah.
somewhere.
As we stand
That's how it
now,
feels.
as we stand now in this time period, especially after Endgame,
Yeah.
I agree with you. But to counter argue your point about like an empty MCU, Spider-Man PS4 did pretty damn good without
Yeah.
any. I mean, they mentioned the Avengers.
Yes.
Yeah.
Now,
Right.
mentioning is great.
When I was playing, I was wondering where the hell are the Avengers though. Shit was getting kind of real in that. By the end, like, yo, Doc
Right.
is really lighting me up right now.
Yo, Cap, can you help me brother out?
Seriously.
But see, that's the thing, and that's always been the problem with the comics in general. Is like, okay, well, like in the comics where you were able to just kind of block the rest of that. Most of the time when it's a big situation going on. In the movies, we're always like, well, where's S.H.I.E.L.D.? Where is that? And it's always just an idea of like, okay, they're off planet or something like that.
But with that being said, Spider-Man can have some really good, just local level stories as well. Like, for example, Kevin Smith wrote Spider-Man: The Evil That Men Do. It took forever for him to finish it, but the first 3 issues was flame. And it was just him trying to find a drug kingpin. Like, who the hell is poisoning our streets? We don't need the Avengers for that. Spider-Man could do that. And it was just him and Black Cat, and they were just, it was essentially a story about them. But the drug thing was just the backdrop.
Right.
And that we could do that. Make that a movie.
That
It
would be good if they take Spider-Man away
Yes.
from MCU,
But
which I don't want them to do for fans of the MCU because I feel like that's selfish.
Yeah.
Now, if they take it and it's like, okay, for now, you need to handle things on your side so you can get some more experience before coming back into the Avengers. Okay, that's a nice little throwaway line. It's fine. It may suck, but one, it's like, okay, he's a teenager. You're giving him a chance to try and learn things on his own with some support in his own area. Then there's no issue. Then you can actually take the stories and have it more focused on Spider-Man, Venom, or whoever you want to. More localized. And it feels more grounded. And then, big finale or something like that, take him and add in another character or go somewhere else with that.
And I think that segues right into my next point is, as we know right now, a deal has not been made, and it doesn't look like there will be a deal anytime soon for D23 this weekend.
I know, right?
We
Forgot
shall
about
see.
that.
Though the Mandalorian trailer
Yeah, they got
is,
plenty of stuff.
Yo,
coming, so,
hey,
yeah.
the trailer's out?
It
should
this
be.
weekend. So, anyways, so the deal has not been reached here. Yeah, let's applaud Disney a little bit more for another $1 billion project.
Oh, no. I'm applauding John Favreau because he took a character
I get it.
no one knew.
It's just, it
He's
irks
got a good
me.
track record.
Yeah.
This thing with Disney kind of irks me a lot more because that was one of the reasons I was so hesitant to even watch The Lion King, because I was like,
You don't want to keep giving them money?
it was just every month it was like this weird feeling of like must-see Disney movies that I have to go see, and I'm like, damn, I'm not watching anything else. Every time I go to the theater, it's a Disney movie, a Disney-owned movie, and I'm like, I started thinking about that. I'm like, this shit is all the way up until Star Wars comes out, and I was like,
That's smart marketing. They're like, Akasan, hey,
Yeah.
give us your wallet.
But there is something that I don't entirely like
Right.
about one company
Right.
owning so much.
Right, and so
I didn't like them buying Fox, but the government was okay with that. But like,
I was actually I was not really big on Spider-Man joining the MCU in the beginning.
Yeah.
Like, and I've come around. It's ironically, by the time I came around to it, which was Far From Home, the one you don't like, that was the one where I'm like, you know what? I see him fitting in here. I feel him as an MC, and I got excited the moment that shit happened. This shit was happening.
Yeah.
So as we know, the deal, as far as we know, has not been reached, and it may not ever be reached. So what happens now? If you're Sony and you're going back, and I told people not to watch Venom because you got a huge movie. Venom was financially successful. You have Andy Serkis. Yeah.
And he's directing the next
Andy
one.
Serkis coming in as doing his directorial debut, probably.
no, he's directed movies before.
Okay, so he's directing Venom 2. You have Tom Holland under contract, whether he likes it or not. He's got to play a Spider-Man. You have the successful Into the Spider-Verse as well. People are aware about Miles, and this is what I'm saying. Disney needs Spider-Man and MCU more than Sony needs the MCU with Spider-Man.
Yeah.
Because you have success with the Spider-Verse. You have Jared Leto playing Morbius.
Yep.
And Black Cat
and
movie.
Craven is also.
Craven is in the works as well. There's a lot of stuff that they can do with the Spider-Man universe. Where do we go from here? Let's just assume that no deal will be reached in the time being. What would you guys suggest happens with Spider-Man?
So I want to point out that Into the Spider-Verse had an Academy Award, but didn't make a lot of money, which sucks.
Right.
You guys should have saw it. It was fire.
Yeah. That's also the timing because it came out around the same time as
And everything. Well, not Aquaman and
you had it come out at the time where there were a few other animated features, but for the most part, your big budget features came out at that time. So we were like,
it's so
we
crowded.
watch something animated or we go watch live action. Okay, we'll go see this. If it's still in the theater, we'll go back.
And let's not forget that animation does not sell in America. Animation does not do as well unless that shit. It's a Disney logo.
Yeah.
Okay, but as you're saying,
But I'm glad they got that award. That was great. Should they make a number 2?
Yeah.
They do risk not getting their investment back if they make another one.
It's already been made.
Oh, is it? Okay, all right. My thought is maybe don't do another Spider-Man movie. Stick to what you're doing with the Venom thing and maybe the
Venomverse.
Yeah, the Venom verse. Because I tell you what, if they try to do another Spider-Man movie with Tom Holland or anyone else.
Sorry, so the thing I was about to mention is that's the thing. Tom Holland is under contract. They can make another Spider-Man movie, but they cannot include any mention of the MCU. Right. So Spider-Man is literally wearing Stark tech. Somehow they got to change all that.
If they do that,
well, he doesn't have to. They could say that it got shelved.
Right, exactly. But it's going to be a dramatic difference regardless.
The internet would go crazy. So I don't know if that would affect like folks like my mother-in-law like going to see it, or my nephews, nieces and nephews, like their children, like they don't know that stuff. But it would be really difficult to market with the.
I agree.
You know, people are going to be really confused. So I think they should see what their projects are going now, because they do have a time limit to make another movie, right?
Yeah, it's weird
It's
because
usually
I'm like
5 to 10. And usually it's like a 10-year.
Right.
Wait it out. Just let it ride the wave. You know. No.
So so because here's the potential danger with that.
Yeah.
You're letting Tom Holland age out. So the next time you see Tom Holland, motherfucker going big as hell, and his contract may not come back.
Because because he's contracted to do X amount of films within a certain length of time.
Yeah.
If they don't use him,
he
there's a
can
clause
bounce,
that he can bounce out of it.
So damn, if they do use him, if they do make another Spider-Man movie with Tom Holland or not, it's gotta be the most amazing Spider-Man film ever made. Period.
I see what you did there.
It's gotta be spectacular.
Yeah, it has to be. You know, because if they do something and it's Venom-like, you know, like come on.
Well, there's a lot of things you can do. I mean, you have Tom Holland. He's willing to play the part. He's ready to play the part because realistically, it's like, look, he has offers coming from all over the place doing other films, but it's like to play Spider-Man, it's an iconic character that everybody can recognize. So to not use him would actually hurt whatever studio doesn't use him.
Even if the movie is shit, they still should use him.
And I'm like this. If they wait it out, things that happen, he ends up losing interest in playing the character.
Okay.
His fan base ends up losing interest in him playing the character.
Right. That's true.
Then they have to take the story and basically age it up to fit whatever happened.
Yeah.
Or basically, it's a movie full of throwaway lines.
Yeah.
To say, oh well, you know, this happened, so now he's like this.
Okay.
Now, another thing that they could do, things that some fans talk about, is having a multiverse where you have the Amazing Spider-Man and the first Spider-Man all together with Tom Holland to fight some big bad. That's fine.
Exactly.
If the story fits it. I don't have any problem with that. I think if they're going to use Tom Holland, something they could do, since Venom has done well, and to help give Venom a little more strength in its next iteration, have them meet.
Yeah.
Okay.
Have them meet. If not,
that would be crazy money. Like, the story might suck, but crazy money.
A good way to basically not use Stark Tech, have him in black.
Yeah, I thought about that.
And then have the story slowly build from that. It doesn't have to be the entire movie, but have that happen towards the end of the movie. Well. And it's like, oh, what happened? It's a good cliffhanger.
I'm so
move
okay
into something
with that.
else.
Like a reverse Venom saga. Like if they did, that's transforming the medium into something different.
So here's what I would say.
From there.
Into the Spider-Verse did extremely well, critically acclaimed. That actually, and one of the things that it did was it showed that you could have a black Spider-Man be accepted very well. But more importantly, it showed the fact that you could introduce the multiverse concept without people scratching their fucking heads and shit. Spider-Man Far From Home also introduced the multiverse concept lightly, but it showed that people essentially could introduce that. Doctor Strange will be doing it later in Phase 4. Here's what I would essentially do if I were Sony. Again, I'm not defending Sony, but I'm looking at it as somebody who invested money years ago and
in an IP, and they still need to get their money's worth.
They still need that. They still need to get that shit going. Disney does not need the money, man. Like, that's the part that annoys me the most. I'm like, yo, come on now. But they got to run a business too. I understand this point. So what I would do is, if Disney's not willing to work with Sony, which I believe Disney is the one that needs to be working with Sony, not the other way around. If Disney is not willing to stick with a fairer deal, I would still leave that window open, but essentially they just need to both have a cooling off period. Like, it's a divorce. This is a divorce. The marriage was 4.5 years ago. This is a divorce. Or it's a separation. Let's just call it a separation. It's a cooling off period. Let Disney do what they're doing with Phase 4. Maybe it's time that Spider-Man steps away anyways. From the titles we've seen anyways. From the titles we've seen anyways, there's not really going to be any necessarily a need to have Spider-Man around for the next year or two in Phase 4. Let them do what they're doing. Let Sony do what they're doing and use Tom Holland's contract. Use the hype that they got from the MCU. Keep pushing it, whatever. It's like when two wrestling collaborations, programs come together and then they split and then they come back every year. Or like the Super Bowl or whatever. But now the biggest problem here is the fact that if you have a Tom Holland Spider-Man, you have all these connections. He's so intricate to the MCU. His character... Well, the best thing that you can do is really just use him on a limited basis and take him away from that world. As DC's son already alluded to, what better way than to do some form of a Into the Spider-Verse type-ish story mixed with Secret Wars. Is that what it was called? I think it was called Secret Wars. Secret Wars, not... Wait, no, that's not what it was called.
Which one are you thinking of? Secret Wars is when all these superheroes
came together on the off-planet, right? Off-world? What was the Secret Invasion? Is the scroll one.
Yeah, that's what's happening.
Right. So let's do Secret Wars, but not somewhat of the same. Secret Wars style where they're just pulling Spider-Man from all over the universe. So Tom Holland is one of the front runners. We can introduce a Miles type character. We could get Toby back, get Andrew back. People would go crazy over the fact that all of these everybody would be sucking Sony's dick again. Like, be like, okay, sorry, we talked shit about you during that deal. Oh my God, this is great. We're for it. Venom, whatever, right? Of course, it's not the best writing.
I'm over here like,
nah.
You know, if you don't want to mix Venom in with it, something else you can do with it is, okay, there are some fans of Fantastic Four out there, somewhere. I see a few, but anyway, sorry. But that's another way to strengthen that property. Have him interact with Fantastic Four, and when he's interacting with Fantastic Four, Tom Holland, Spider-Man.
No, but Fantastic Four is back with Marvel now. Yeah. That was a Fox property.
Never mind.
Yeah, that was a Fox property.
Never mind.
But here's the thing: it's like Venom is the next movie. Venom is the next movie coming out from Sony, as far outside of Jared Leto's thing, and I think that's already the perfect way you kind of hinted at these alien monsters from space. Right. Let's keep introducing that space angle, and I think that would be the introduction into the Venom, like you said, the Venomverse introduces the Multiverse, which essentially brings in the Spider-Verse. And that would be have a little teaser at that end, and the next thing is basically this Spider-Verse thing. Venom in fucking space, Tom Holland in space, Garfield. Everybody is out there doing that shit. I think people would be on board, and that way you can use Tom Holland's Spider-Man, but not the MCU.
Right.
He just comes through the portal. You know, he's playing his same character, but he's off-world, so there's no inclusion.
Or an alternate Earth.
Exactly. And I think that would be the easiest way for this kind of cooling off period to show, for Sony to show Disney, you guys need us a lot more than we need you. We can make money with Spider-Man. We've been making money with Spider-Man.
That and it kind of works out because you had people that were kind of pissed off that
Exactly.
J. Jonah Jameson showed up and it's like, what are you doing? He's not from that Spider-Man universe. Okay, so, you know, you want to rewrite it a bit. Well, when Spider-Man came back, he ended up on an alternate Earth.
Right.
And then take it from there.
And then in time comes, if let's say the Disney Marvel deal works out a little bit better and they want to do Spider-Man 3, back home again, whatever. Home on the range,
and
whatever.
anyone else that they used, if they wanted to, into the MCU.
And they do a little flashback of
Can't
what
wait.
happened after the after credits tease of his identity being revealed.
It could be a cutscene at the
Forgot
end of the
about
movie.
that. Man,
Yeah.
they really screwed that up, man.
So it's like, no, and you're like, you know, and look, let's just say it's 5 years from now, 6 years from now, and they come back, and obviously Peter is a lot more aged now. He's like, oh yeah, that one thing where my identity got revealed. Well, Nick Fury talked to the whatever is Krallis or the Scroll guy, and they do it like in a quick 5-minute thing about, oh, and he got me to, hey guys, and he shows them in the background with Spider-Man or whatever. Yeah. Like, it's all explained really quick. Let's just move on to the next story. Fuck, I guess. Anything else you guys want to say about anything?
I just hope it gets worked out one way or another.
Yeah.
Just as a fan of movies, outside of fans of specific IPs, I just wanted to see it work out to make fans of all ages be able to go to the movie theater and just enjoy being.
I agree.
Yeah, I just want to see good stuff.
Okay, guys, so we're going to take a few questions here from Twitch. We do all of our live streams now on Twitch, almost exclusively now, unless it's breaking news. Make sure you follow me on AKA_plays at... No, that's it. AKA_plays over there on Twitch. So, Clover says, do you guys think the same audience will be there for Venom 2, though? My concept, my idea of Venom... I say as much as I hate to admit it, yes. Because you can make a dumb movie like Venom and people still show up and will see it. That shit is wild.
Yeah.
But
They're going to see it just because they want to see what else the character can do, let alone whatever story it goes with. And considering how much it made on the first iteration, yeah.
And honestly, if my idea, if even part of my idea, I mean, Sony, if you want to hit me up with some royalties and tell it, but if even some of my ideas shows up where Tom Holland shows up, bumps into Tom Hardy and shit, and somehow the symbiote is
it's like, oh, someone
bonded,
stronger.
bonded, and you get the white spider suit, and he's like, holy shit, what an upgrade! I'd be sad if, as stupid as that sounds, just to have that white symbol and the symbiote talking like that. Mm-hmm. Now that's what I'm fucking talking about, or some shit like that. Whatever. I'd be okay. Terry?
Oh no, I think everyone probably will show up. These movies, I feel, have the same audience. This crossover. The folks that go to see the Marvel movies are the same folks that see the Fox and the DC films. I mean, we all just like comic book features. So unless we know that it really stinks, we can just smell it. You know.
Exactly. All right.
Definitely go see it.
Next question. All's Luck says, you think live-action Spider-Verse can make more than Far From Home? No, but Sony is going to make more. And also the thing to keep in mind is like, Disney is crazy with their promotion and all their like Far From Home. It's just the power. The House of the Mouse is just so strong that it just sells itself. Yeah. But I don't think that should be the bottom line, and I don't think that should be the bottom line for fans as well. Should it make more money? Why does a Spider-Man movie need to make $1 billion to be good? Or, why does it need to outbeat each other ones? And again, as a business factor, if I'm Sony, I'd rather have 100% of $900 million than 50% of $1 billion due to math. You know,
I mean, essentially, you guys can afford to give it up. It's a power play. They just want, I don't know, it's very weird.
Yeah.
Disney can afford to stick with the same deal, but there's power in, in making the move, the play that they did.
The downside to sticking with the same deal is that Sony ends up losing money. That's why it's an issue.
Okay.
I do think that whatever they decide to do with the next Venom and or Spider-Man movie will make quite a bit of money. Specifically because of, one, the situation that's happened between Sony and Disney, but also because people want to see, okay, if this, like you said, hasn't worked its way out, what can you do with the characters?
Yeah.
Because you have fans, like we mentioned before, fans of Sam Raimi, fans of the Spider-Man, fans of the Amazing Spider-Man, and Tom Holland fans. So you got to find a way to balance it out.
It's very true because it's way messy, man. It's so weird. In some sense, it's so weird to me that I've enjoyed the MCU Spider-Man, but I've never was on that side of like straight hating him and comparing him because I didn't like Tobey's Spider-Man. I actually liked Garfield's Spider-Man of all of them. I liked that one more. The story could have been better, but I did like that. But I never would start shitting on the MCU version of Spider-Man, but it's just weird that we have all these factions of people that will just never be happy. I even see people now that are happy that this deal is falling through because they want Spider-Man 4.
By himself.
No.
Yeah, they want Maguire coming back.
Yeah,
that's been
ridiculous.
That doesn't make any sense whatsoever,
But
especially
this
since
is a
Tom
big
is already
thing.
contracted.
Yeah, you definitely can't compare. No, what you got?
Having the other Spider-Men come into this, whatever is going to happen, that's fine. But the main thing is you need to have a good story.
Yeah.
Because if the story's not good, everything will fall apart from here on out, and then Sony's not going to be able to recover from it because that trust will be gone. And it's not that it's Sony's fault or Disney's fault. It's a story fault.
Yeah. There you go. Let me set the camera. Get out. Okay, there you go. Now we're good.
Did I hit it?
No, it's just me. All right, next one. Xantos says, is there a possibility of Zendaya and Jacob's Baltalan's characters being frozen because of this deal falling out? Yes.
Yes.
Absolutely.
So,
do not expect anybody coming back. Only Tom Holland's coming back. Aunt May, that'll work. Yeah.
Aunt May, that'll work. Zendaya, she actually wants to continue working with Tom Holland because they have a good on-screen relationship. Off-screen also, they're very close. But it's one of those just like, how do you not use the character?
I just thought about that. A lot of people not gonna have some work.
Yeah.
That really sucks.
Yeah.
Because the problem is all of those characters were specifically created in the sense that
they could be shared.
They could be shared, and that neither company would end up being locked out. That's why Ned. I keep calling him Ned. Is his name Ned? Yeah. The big boy.
He's Ned.
Oh yeah.
Gendry
Sorry.
Ned.
Yeah.
Ned is a combination of Ned Leeds and Gendry from Miles' universe because they're so different yet so familiar that they wouldn't be locked out if something went bad in all this other stuff. But in all likelihood, because of their inclusion so much to the MCU, the only way you could really do a movie is to not have them included, because that's the thing. If you include Zendaya's character, then you have to start talking about the whole story points of the last movie.
Yeah.
Identities being revealed. Okay, what's up with Nick Fury? Yeah. What's up with Nick Fury? What's up with all that other stuff? Like, it's hard. Happy, you're not going to see Happy anymore.
Yeah, Happy's not going to be Happy anymore.
Happy, yeah. But the good thing they broke up, I guess. I don't know. Yeah.
And it is rumored that she's Nick Fury's daughter. That's just like fan rumor, correct?
Right.
Okay.
That's new to me. That's interesting.
Yeah, that was the one. All right.
I was like, that's weird.
Son of Mankind. I got the WWE.
No, but your reaction was
that
great.
Mankind. Okay.
Yeah, that man.
Yeah.
Would you be down for a Black Cat and Spider-Man centric film from Sony?
Yes.
Why not?
I just said the evil that men do. Make that shit. Get Kevin Smith to write it.
Definitely. It gives you a chance to stay away from anything MCU related. Gives you a chance to expand on Spider-Man and that particular universe, but literally just gives you a chance to do something completely fresh in general.
That would be so sick. They got like the most bomb-ass chick to play Black Cat.
Who'd you cast?
I don't...
Anybody in mind?
Emma Stone.
Really?
I'm just saying.
Somebody with that, because you know.
And
No,
Andrew
no.
Garfield
Wait.
was sitting
Listen,
in a cafe with a coffee,
no.
looking sad because.
Listen, wait. Hold on a second. How fucking dope would that be if they were pitching the fucking Spider-Verse idea, and then all of a sudden a fucking Thanos portal opens up and shit, and you see Emma Stone coming out. Hello, Tiger, or whatever the fuck she says.
Yeah, Tiger's in.
No, she says Spider.
Yeah.
Hello, Spider, and you're like, wait, is that Emma Stone?
Yeah.
Oh shit! And then boom.
Yeah, but you know, like
Money, right there, money.
Terry and whatever, man, the comic artist that draws them.
Certainly.
Fuck, I can't remember. Either way, there's a couple in comic books that draw artists that draw women with the all voluptuous.
Yeah, I know what you're talking about.
You know what I'm talking about?
Tim Sale.
No, not Tim Sale.
He did the Batman stuff, right?
No, but that's not the guy that did this.
Okay.
But,
the Asian dude.
He's not
Right?
Asian.
Okay.
He's not Asian. It's all right. I'll get back to it.
Something Lee Cho or something like that. All right. So Moon's Eclipse says Sony and Akasan DMs as we speak. Yeah, I fucking wish, man. Give me that Sony. Give me them PlayStations. Shit. I'll say anything. I'll shield. I wish. As much Disney shit that's on my channel. All right. When you said that they couldn't, Bashful Playa, when you said that they couldn't continue the story as they do a quick recap with Nick Fury and stuff, I thought they couldn't use MCU stuff. What I mean is that if the deal is, if the deal is fixed again, years down the line, and they pick up on the story as we left and Far From Home, then they could do a quick recap, because obviously he'd be aged up. All right.
Use Terry Dodson.
Those covers, man.
You can use Adam Hughes.
So it's Terry Dodson.
Oh, okay. Cool. All right, here we go.
Yeah. How you doing?
Just make that the movie.
Wachano Mongo says, how would you feel about Spider-Man and Venom fighting Carnage in Venom 2?
I think that'd be interesting if the writing can support it.
Just don't make it the crazy CG fest. It's gonna be, but like, be careful.
I guess I'm fine with it, but just any inclusion of Spider-Man needs to be handled really carefully at this point.
Well, it could be limited to like the final battle. So like anything that happens up until that point, you could have Venom and Tom Holland's Spider-Man, have a quick conversation or whatever.
Yeah.
Move on.
That'd be kind of interesting.
He's barely in it.
That'd be kind of interesting.
Then at the end, he's like, I can't do this alone. I need help. I need you to help me. And at this time, Spider-Man's like, I'm almost like hang up his cape. I need to take a break. Too much has happened, kind of thing. And he sees what's happening in their city, and he's like, we got to stop him.
Yeah, but again, any inclusion of Spider-Man, unless they just do, like, Venom is in San Francisco, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
But doesn't have to stay in
No, but he should stay in San Francisco because the MCU is so revolved around New York. Ant-Man, they barely touch on San Francisco. That'd be the better way to do it.
Well, and doing that is also good because you end up having Spider-Man in a new city.
That's
he
what I'm
doesn't
saying.
know it.
That's what I'm saying. That would work pretty well. You have Tom Holland in San Francisco, again, far from home, and visiting. He's visiting, doing whatever. He's getting away. We don't really go too much into him a lot. But yeah, he could actually, in some way, that could actually be him running from New York in some sense because of what happened in Far From Home.
And I think that's great. You're literally going across the country.
He's in kind of
no one recognizes
witness protection program or whatever. That'd be kind of cool. Like
as
maybe
Ben Reilly.
Oh,
there you go.
Okay.
There you go.
Hi Sony.
There you go.
All day. We could fill in some
Venom. All right.
Shaquem.
Next one. All's Luck says, do you think Disney will pull the trigger and give Sony what they asked for, considering how much the MCU has built up Spider-Man?
That would be cool.
I would hope they do. I hope down the line, months to now, we get another James Gunn situation, and Disney is just like, all right, you know what? We don't need. We have enough money.
But that depends on the fan outrage, no? Because James Gunn came back because everyone was like,
true.
"What are you doing?"
Yeah.
But no, I also think that was them secretly being let's just wait till cooler minds prevail.
Yeah.
Cooler heads prevail.
Cool
We'll
off
bring
a
you
bit.
back a little quieter under the
Yeah.
radar.
You're not
and
really
shit.
fired, but we're gonna make it
Right.
seem like you're fired.
Right, because
So
we got a
You're
whole.
suspended.
Yeah.
Here's a slap on the wrist.
All right. Moon Eclipse. Oh, it's good. After getting Spider-Man back, do you think it was a good idea to make Venom a good guy? He's kind of a good guy. He was always walking the line. He's
Yeah,
the lethal
but-
protector.
But that's also something that they could have him slightly pull away from in the next movie, and him going a little bit more on the darker side until Carnage shows up, and it's like, well, you need a villain to fight a villain. Okay, fire with fire. I know, I'm good at this.
You need evil to fight evil. Come on, Spider-Man. All right.
Hashtag my tagline.
Hashtag my tagline.
I'm telling you, Emma Stone, Black Cat, Spider-Verse, make that shit. People would be crazy. Could you just imagine if they just like
Wait a second.
that fucking trailer would break the internet.
Who was the character that was potentially supposed to play her in
Black
the
Cat.
Amazing?
I don't
no, in
remember.
Amazing
I
Spider-Man?
know who you're talking about,
That
but
actress would be good.
I think she probably aged out already.
She's in isn't she the one that was in Star Wars?
Oh, really?
Is that her? Not the same woman?
No. Are you talking about Ray?
No, not Ray. The one where they Rogue One. Is that not the same woman?
Felicity Jones.
Felicity Jones, right? Yeah.
Have her.
Yeah.
That would be
All
fantastic.
She just gotta have the badonkadonk. That's
Right.
all, you know.
Wait, holy shit! That was Morena Bark from Gotham? No, maybe I'm getting okay.
Yeah,
Never mind.
Morena Baccarin.
No.
Okay.
No.
All right.
No. And
Make
if it
her
is
Black Cat. She's a little bit
if
old,
she's
though.
Black Cat,
But
that
that'll
means Tom Holland really needs to be aged up.
Yeah.
All right. Let's Doom says.
That'd be a badass
Because she
Black
looks
Cat,
too good for that young kid.
Doom says, does anybody actually want this to happen? I'm sure as hell don't. I sure as hell don't.
What to happen? Them to split or
I
them
think
to
splitting.
work it out?
I think them splitting.
Well, no one wants them to split because it just puts people out of work.
I'm brainstorming Morena Baccarin, Black Cat, the Graduate type movie. You know, she's what did you call it?
And that's when you bring back Andrew Garfield.
She's going Cougar Town and like, come over here, Spider-Man. You know, like
Wow.
that's what the Graduate, right? Like.
All right. Here's gonna be the final. Here's gonna be the final question. Here's gonna be the final question because this is the one thing that a lot of people have actually asked me since the success of Into the Spider-Verse, and
They should have Miles Morales.
Purple Rain asks, "What about introducing a naked?"
Really? You wanted that to your last?
No, never mind. I read. What about introducing a naked Miles Morales as in placement of Holland? Copyright Japan's strike cheaped asses. Okay, never mind.
Yeah. So is there one more question after that?
No, my own question was a few people were asking, how about just have Sony? Because we've talked about this before. Is about why didn't Sony and Marvel just do two different Spider-Man men? Like Tom Holland's doing
one in MCU and
exactly.
one separate.
Exactly. So you can have a more
Because of that
adult
license.
Right, and it's kind of
Literally because of the Spider-Man license. That's why it wasn't.
You
split.
can't have two live-action Spider-Man.
It's one or the other.
Really?
Otherwise, that would have happened 6 years ago.
Right. That is wild.
Because that topic was actually broached, and they're like, yeah, no, one or the other. Because doing that, then you end up with the issue of merchandising rights and all that kind of stuff. Who actually gets it? And it's you're muddling, basically, the market.
Saturation as well, especially with merchandise. Yeah. That sucks.
Another
and
reason
I guess
why other companies were hesitant to bring some of the characters they have on TV, into film, because
that's exactly why. So that's the same reason why you can't have a Wonder Woman TV show and then a Wonder Woman movie at the same time.
And because the pilot was bad.
Yeah, and things like that. Or we had two Flashes,
that was
but
a thing.
yeah. That's
You
every
saw the pilot
time.
too?
Every time there's a
Because
movie,
that
they
actress
take them
ended
off
up on
the air.
Agents of
Yeah.
S.H.I.E.L.D.
Yeah. Interesting. Okay. So the other thing, and the one of the things that people were mentioning was why MCU only Spider-Man, and then just introduce Miles, and Miles can be in charge of the Sony run movies. I'd say
that's not a problem, but then what do? You cut Tom Holland?
Right, exactly.
He didn't do anything wrong.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly.
That's
So
not cool.
it's not.
We'll see if the market's ready for that. If they did that, it needs to go hard.
Ready for Miles Morales?
Yeah, ready for like a black dude to be on screen unmasked. You know, there's
Unlike
there's
this,
some folks-
they've already done it with Black Panther, and
Yeah,
that
yeah.
was phenomenal. Whether people were fans of the character or not, they went and watched movies like, wow, that's actually really smart what they did with the character. It's really good. And he was an American, which is a harder market to actually deal with. So introducing Miles into the universe, that's not hard at all, especially looking at how they do casting.
Yeah. So long as it's good. Like if they do it and it's doo-doo, that's it. You don't screw it up. They're never going to see Miles Morales on screen again. If Into the Spider-Verse was doo-doo, that would have been it, you know? That's
But
all
they
I'm
already
saying.
introduced his uncle in the MCU, so having him on Sony's side isn't an issue. Yeah, you forgot about that.
Nah, I mean it's there, but damn.
Yeah.
Oh man, what a
I think it'd be really
mess.
really interesting if they really wanted to play around with it, give it a lighter tone. They can introduce Miles Morales. You have Tom Holland Spider-Man, and basically Tom Holland Spider-Man is actually trying to teach Miles Morales what he learned because he's leaving New York.
I thought about that for the next two movies. It's having Tom Holland around to mentor Miles.
Almost like a buddy cop.
But no, they kill him in the last movie, and so.
Oh wow, I wasn't thinking that.
No, that's exactly what I was thinking. Was like, you know, Tom Holland probably is not happy that he would have to do these movies, but if he can basically play himself up to die, the same way Peter Parker dies in the comics, that inspires.
Walk into a portal would be great instead of killing him, because it feels too much like Iron Man, and he's died once already.
Yeah.
But my whole thing about that is just
so it feels overkill for me.
Nah, but if he actually died. But the only thing is he's just still too young to be that adult mentoring guy.
But that's what's good about it, because he's not perfect. He's teaching him things that he's learned. He's trying to live up to what he's learned, but he's still making mistakes.
I get it.
Miles is teaching him while he's teaching Miles.
I get it, but it's still way too soon from him losing Tony, and he still likes his kid right now. So
you can bump it up a year or two since his identity was out, and have it go from there.
What
he's
is he
assuming
in?
a different identity.
He's in high school right now.
Yeah. Last year of high school.
I could see kind of a university student. I mean, we have that with
that, or
Jukus and
his,
like that.
Yeah, he could be a first-year university student, and Miles is a sophomore in high school.
They don't have to necessarily be a mentor-mentee thing. They could just be peers.
Yeah.
I mean, like the PS4 Spider-Man. How much older is he than?
Oh, he's definitely past college though.
Okay, all right.
He's definitely past college.
Yeah.
I just don't. I think a young university, it still looks too weird. And you're gonna need a capable Miles actor too. So I can't really see a 12-year-old playing
that.
Miles
Or I mean, if you want to have them around the same age as Peter and their peers in the last year of high school, first year of university, that could work. He's still young enough to have another 2 to 3 films after that if you wanted to do that, but still old enough to where they can carry the part without being too much in one way or another.
Well, who knows?
Movie magic.
It's confusing times, my friends. All right. Yeah, that gave me chills. Yeah, I agree. Okay, guys, we're gonna wrap it up here. We spent way too long longer than I thought we would. But thank you for being a part of this and this healthy discussion about the future of Spider-Man and the MCU Spider-Man. Hopefully these two companies will come to their senses and realize that the fans still want a very cohesive story being put together. If not for the benefit of their franchises, just for the benefit of them making something to close the story on MCU Spider-Man so that we can move on to another deal later. There's so many loose ends that would be so hard to tangle, that are so entangled. And either way, a deal should be reached because the fans will never forget on both sides. Take care of yourselves. Make sure you subscribe to DC Sun's channel.
Avengers, because he can't handle the pressure.
And that too. Obsidian Perspective and
Yes.
Akasan. We'll talk to you very soon.
Keep it simple.
Peace.
We won. Mr. Stark. We won, Mr. Stark. We won. You did it, sir. You did it. I'm sorry, Tony.